Estate Agency EAX, the UK's #1 estate agency podcast discussing the future of estate agency, entrepreneurship and business, host Mark Burgess and Rob Brady.
Here we've got Abigail Grey. She runs an agency near Wembley. Really good agency. It's been established for many, many years. She's got a great podcast episode on this as well. And she's got a smaller team, one branch agency, does really, really well, serves landlords as well and sales. Shane Harris, co-director of Harris Wood in Essex, with his business partner Mark, and Tracy does their lettings. So they've got 3 offices, 44 members of staff. Mac's got Gigs & Co, and then he's got different partner-led agencies that sort of collab with him. So they've got different business heads of different partnerships that Matt's accumulated over the years. So they've got different cultures in there. So he's got 3 of his business partners right next to him right now. So all of them have got different ways of doing things. So Matt's going to bring some expertise and also dealing with different ages from a coaching perspective. Chris Ellis has got an agency in Sittingbourne. And Chris is not even there right now. There he is. Chris and I have had hours and hours of coaching together. So he's gone for a good transformation in his culture. And Katie Cromwell from Wales. She's got an awesome boutique agency down there. I've seen Katie flourish in a lot of last few years, and she's got bring a different sass to her culture and agency. So 5 different versions of people. I'm sure we're going to get different answers from different questions, but this is your time also to ask those questions around culture. If you are struggling with that and you're trying to look at performance, do lean on that. And I'll get Toby running around with the mic again, and if you want to direct it to a particular person, then please do so. So. If you'd like to invite everyone to stage, and guys, try and sit underneath your picture as well, which will make it a bit easier. Thanks, guys. You didn't have a little mic, sorry.
Hold on for this. Good, mate.
Everyone's like, ooh! They get a look of like, oh my God, I'm scared. So, let me have any. Has anyone got any questions they just want to fire at them about culture? No? Okay, so, culture panel here. So, a quick question to start off with. So, beyond numbers and KPIs, what holistic practices have you built into your business that support and strengthen your culture?
I'll kick us off.
And who's going to grab that one first? Shane. Love Shane.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, probably one of the biggest things that we do is our Employee of the Month thing. I think you've seen how we do that. And that is literally all based on culture. That's not KPIs, it's not figures at all. And it works in a way of a system of like, so we'll sit in the meeting, everybody will vote anonymously, get past to one person, they'll read it out and say, oh, Rob, you voted for so-and-so, can you tell us why? And then it'll all be based around like how that core value or whatever you voted them for has played out throughout the course of that month. And because it's an open forum and everybody just speaks to each other as if, like, Rob, here's what you've done for me, thank you, it just reinforces that culture and that behaviour. So that's a massive thing for us.
And did you start that from day one?
No, we started doing that, actually stole the idea from Robbie, who's filming here today for somewhere. They did it in their companies. They've got like a little spin the wheel thing and then you win whatever you win at the end of the month. And I said, oh, that's a really good idea. But we adapted the culture and the core values thing from the course that we've done and built it into that.
Perfect. Anyone else want to share anything? Go on.
We've done something similar. So again, it's mad, isn't it? Because I look at my career and really I probably do need a little bit of encouragement here and there, but I didn't realise how powerful it would be. Obviously, we implemented it this year, so we're doing it on a monthly basis. There's a quarterly little award that I give whoever has performed, but it's been quite powerful within. So they get a little trophy as well. That's the other crazy thing. So it goes on their desk. But it's mad that little thing has such a big impact. And I never thought it would until we done it this year. So it is quite powerful.
Go on, Katie.
Yes, I think it is quite powerful. I think it's important to make sure that your staff do feel valued. Like we tend to do a lot Well, I make a big fuss out of sort of birthdays, Christmas. I like to give them like a little handwritten note to thank them for all of their achievements and work. And then I know you're waiting for it. And then the Ibiza holidays that we have then as well.
Ibiza holidays.
Just to sort of, but I think it, it creates that bond in a sense where you're more, it's more than just work. You are a family, you're a unit together. And I think that, yeah, we love our team. We're very lucky.
Abs, Matt?
Really nervous. I'll echo everything that I've heard already. We do some of these similar things, but I've got a few tips already to take back with me and how I can improve some of the bits that we do. But one of the other things we worked on recently with Rob is employee engagement, because it's all well and good that the team perform and they hit certain targets, but also how engaged are they with your company? Are they living and breathing the values? And also, is the company engaging with them? Because it's a two-way street. It isn't just about what we can get from them. As an employer and running a company, I feel very responsible for the lives of the people that work for me or work with me, because they're not working for me, but we work together. And by doing this employee engagement index, I can get a view of where they feel the company's working for them and things that can be improved. And I know when we do the quarterly one-to-ones, they'll say things and I wouldn't even have picked up on it. And it could be really, really small. And just by making that change, it makes a huge difference to them. One of the big things that came up, we did an anonymous poll at the beginning of the year about things they were unhappy about. And it was great because most people came back with really positive stuff to say, but they all had one niggle about something we were running, some of the tech in the business. This is the phone system. So I finally managed to get that all resolved for them. They've got a new phone system going in on Monday, and I really hope it massively changes things and makes life much easier for them. But it's just about looking at what works and helping them do the best they can and live the best lives they can.
The engagement index, for anyone's thinking about what is that, it's a non-KPI related engagement that you ask a series of questions. So you can do a scale of 1 to 10 with your members of staff. How well do you see me in my company? How is my voice heard? And that then brings additional questions to the forefront of the one-to-ones, rather than it just being about how many evaluations you booked. And those are the things that tweak the performance going forward as well. Matt, do you want to add anything to that?
I'm going to nick all your ideas. Shall I nick that? Hello? There you go. I'll take this one. Yeah, I'm going to nick all of your ideas, if I'm honest. We could do more of that, but the holistic side of what we do is, I think something I'm really proud of is my wife's up there, and she actually took on the role of coaching. She'd done all of her coaching qualifications and coaches kids in local schools who are very challenged, and we thought, well, if she can deal with kids in schools that are really challenged, she can take on our directors up there. And that's been magical, to be honest, because it's given them somebody else to talk to genuinely, because I think you all know that you have to work harder on yourself than you do your business. So I think that's the holistic bit there, because if you get that right, a lot of the other stuff seems to follow. So alongside that, we've actually got our agents being coached by her as well, so they get coaching, training and mentorship. And we all have different strengths. So I do the mentoring, Ollie, Dame, Derek, Melissa do the training, and Mel does all the coaching. And actually, that's probably been one of the biggest wins this year for me.
Awesome. So I've got a question here, though. Imagine you're speaking to an agency owner who tells you you've got one team member that's causing disruption, right? Based on your own journey, Aaron's in the crowd. He's like, someone threw a chair at him once. I think that was like one of the things. What would you say to them about why it's important to manage that person out, and what advice would you give them?
So, if you don't mind, do I?
Go on, Matt.
I'm just going to finish on that point because I think who's a business owner in this room? Who's can put their hands up? Who likes to help people as well as a business owner? Yeah, sometimes that means you people please, right?
Yeah.
So you end up trying to help the wrong people more than you do the right ones.
That's you, isn't it?
Yeah, massively. Yeah, so you think you're going to get the best out of them, you do all of the work, and you try and you try and you try, and all of the time you're spending on those people, you're missing out the right ones, the good ones, the people that want to do it, the ones that don't ask for nothing are your best ones. You know, all the drama. I was talking to somebody earlier at the bar, not obviously drinking alcohol, but and they said that you know, they've got this person in their team and they were going to manage that person out, and you just think, how many people around that person are being infected by that person? So it's not about the one, it's about the left behind, the people that are actually around that person, and what do they feel, what energy do they have? And I've been guilty of this, which is why it probably hits me a little bit harder, because my natural tendency is to help people. So I go from people pleasing to putting the wall up. So I've now learned as a leader, I've got to be somewhere in between. And having good people around me that allow us to do that obviously helps, but that would be my share on that, is you cannot give it an extra day. You cannot help by thinking hanging on to them is actually good for them either, because I don't believe it is. You can help them in other ways, like find them a role that does suit them. And as Ben said, have clear core values that you can actually, as Mark would say, hug them on the way out because they don't live by those core values. That I think those are the things that will help you, but you've got to think about your business and the vast majority of people in it. It's important that they have the right leadership in you to make sure that that doesn't take place.
Awesome.
Yeah, Matt's absolutely spot on. And for you, I think as a leader, it really weighs heavy on you. Like it's the team's affected, but you're also affected because you know you've got that thing you need to deal with, but you're just not dealing with it. And my wife's in the crowd as well, and we fucking hate spiders. But it's like having a spider under your bed at night. Like, no matter how comfortable the mattress is, like, no one's going to sleep until that's dealt with, you know. And like that's how I feel about staff sometimes. It's like I can't move forward until I deal with this issue. It just lingers. So yeah, Matt's absolutely right. Just get it done. Cancer spreads, cut it out.
I'd definitely take the spider over a disruptive employee.
Yeah.
I'm quite happy.
Go on, Chris.
Yeah, so I've had two instances. Obviously, 2020, I've spoken, there's a few people here that probably would have seen it, but I nearly had a breakdown. I did have a breakdown in 2020 through toxicity. And then in 2023, to be honest, if I didn't put the money away in 2021-22, I would have been out of business. I nearly put another 100 grand into the business to keep it going in 2023. So that's the severity of not dealing with an issue. It's being recorded, so I won't
No
say
names.
too much there. But yeah, it's quite damning. And if anyone wants to speak to me, I will quite happily.
Going back to the culture on performance on that part, like that 2023 to where you are now.
Yep.
How many people are left in that business that you recruit now?
One technically.
One technically. Liz was like in a different
Yeah,
role.
so
And then
Liz was in a different role, but yeah, if I go to 2020, 21, there was 7, and yeah, only one that's come within.
So you had to get rid of 7 spiders, yeah?
Basically, yeah.
Fucking hell, mate. Yeah, that's a period. What about you, Katie?
It's hard, and I hate that sort of thing.
We've had conversations on this.
We've had numerous conversations, but what I've come to realise is that I've tried to sort of view it in a different way. So rather than like you're just giving somebody, a bollocking, it's kind of you're taking the time to let them know that that isn't right, to try and help them to become better at their role or their job. So I think looking at it that way really helped me, because like you guys are saying, you do feel bad, don't you, initially? You don't want to push it too far. You don't want to upset them either, but you've still got to say something, because if you don't, as we all know, it's a nightmare.
It's hard, and because as a small, like when you start, a lot of the people you employ are your friends, aren't they? Like a lot of the people in the business you become friends with. So you have to have that chat with a friend.
That's it.
Which is harder than just it's just the employer.
But I think it's important to be honest as well, and that's one thing, because otherwise you are just people pleasing, and one day you'll just lose your shit then, and then you won't have that friendship anyway. And I think I'm very lucky with the guys with me. They actually appreciate, because I suppose they're used to me not saying anything. When I have said something, they're like, "Oh, right, okay," but I worry too much about how to say it, kind of like you, I suppose. But yeah, it's just say it is best, get it done.
Especially with Matt in the room.
Oh, he's all right. He has a row quite often, actually. We don't mind.
I wouldn't want to tell him not to go and do a viewing or something like that. Has anyone got any questions at all about culture that you want to ask? Ian. Toby, go on, run, Toby. Run.
Yeah, just what lessons have you learned about being the leaders who recruited the problems?
I think it's important to sort of, when you're putting that, job sort of application out there, to make sure that you're listing in there what sort of core values and what your vision is. I think it's very important, especially now with the changes to employment and everything. You've got to kind of get that right from the offset, really. I've always gone more on a vibe for somebody that's in front of me rather than technically what their skill level is. because you can always, train and teach people, the role, but you can't really change their personality or their ways.
How many people in your company that were originally agents before?
Meg was, and just me and Meg, really.
Mm.
Everyone else has come from different roles.
Anyone else want to answer that for you?
I think you have to fail fast. What I've noticed from where I've hired badly, if I don't nip it in the bud, pretty much as soon as I notice there's a problem, it will just grow. And if you don't deal with it quickly, that person causes so much, maybe not disruption, but almost pain in the team, and can really upset the culture. And then you have a lot more to rebuild afterwards. Plus, you're doing your team a favour and showing your trust in them if you can get rid of a bad apple quickly, or just move on someone who wasn't quite right in the first place. Doesn't make them a bad person, right? It wasn't the right fit for you, and you didn't realise at the outset. And it also shows everybody else what your standards are.
Awesome. Anyone else want to answer that at all?
I think when it is your fault, you just have to own up to it, don't you? And just be like, look, this was my fault. Ben made a really good point earlier when he was talking about the core values. I've learned it in ways of just making mistakes and then being like, oh, well, they're a good agent, so then they'll do this job really well, and then actually they don't do that job really well just because they were a good estate agent before. So you just own it and just say, yeah, look, I fucked up, my fault, here's what we're going to do about it moving forward. And then when you can recruit based on those core values, you tend to get it wrong less. You're always going to make mistakes, but you tend to get it wrong less.
I personally winged it up until the last couple of years.
How many
and it was all my fault, to be honest, at the end of the day.
Perfect. So, this is an interesting one. So culture sometimes gets tested when markets shift. Markets have shifted over the last sort of few years, up and downs, etc. So how have you adapted yours to keep people motivated and aligned through those tougher times? Because it's all well and good having a great culture when everything's really high, but how do you do it when the market tanks?
I think you just got to lean. Sorry, do you want to go? I think you just got to lean in a little bit more then. And I think when people know that I think Mark spoke to me about the analogy of someone's got to steer the ship at some point. And when it gets tougher, because the Ben scenario is perfect, the business should just run itself. After a while, you think, oh, this is lovely. I can go away for 6 weeks, 6 months and not worry about it. But when those times do come, because they will come, someone's then got to steer the ship. I think if your team know that you're there, you're still with them, you're still in it, you just lean in a little bit more, lean into your core values a little bit more. This is what they now mean in these scenarios. Just become a little bit closer and a bit of a tighter unit. Unity gets you out of it, I think. People know that you're together, and that makes a big difference.
Awesome.
I think the other thing is you can reset the metrics as well, the things that you're targeting, what's important. You can review that and maybe look at ways. I mean, for us, it's quite easy to do because we've got a large landlord base, and where you do a lot of lettings, obviously that's massively relationship building, rather than transactional, which sales can be typically. So you just lean into those relationships and try and build your core customer base and add to it and add more value, right?
Mm.
I think people just need to know what's expected and how they're doing versus expectations. So that doesn't matter what market you're in. You just be clear, and you have an agreement with people, and that's it. It's as simple as that. I think we overthink everything. This market's the best market if you've got the right mindset. If you hope that the market's going to be better, you're fucked, as Mark might say. But in my opinion, if people are clear and they agree on the expectations, and the bit where we all probably need to improve as leaders, going back to, I didn't answer Ian's question earlier, but the fortune's in the follow-up. So if you're not following people up on what you've agreed and what's expected, there's a big difference between that and micromanagement, by the way. That's not micromanagement. You don't want to micromanage anyone. You've got the wrong people in any environment if you're micromanaging them. But I think if you set clear expectations and you follow up, they know how they're doing versus expectations. You're able to reward them, incentivize them, give them bonuses, and make them feel good about what they're doing and showing them where they're winning as well. I think those are the key elements.
Awesome, Matt. Thanks, mate. Anyone else want to answer that at all? Are we good for that? coming back to the values part to it. So what have you learned on your journey of really understanding the values, and where did the clarity come from? So just in case, like, someone might be in the crowd saying, "Yeah, it's good you just saying get rid of all your team members, and then just like recruit on core values, Americanise it all, and just be all lovely and dovey." Like, say someone was in that process and they're having to go through that process of trying to then see the light. Like, where are you guys at maybe in your stages currently right now or previously before towards understanding those core values, and how have you actually started that process through?
Do you want to go?
I don't mind going. I think, as I said, just look based on where I've been over the last few years. I think without having that clear vision and mission and values behind it, as I said, I was just recruiting on a whim, and it was just a case of, oh yeah, then I saw they're decent, I'll go with it. I recruited poorly in 2020 when shit hit the fan, and it was just a case of, oh, they look good, yeah, go with it. But it's only really then when I've looked at it and gone, right, actually, these are the values that we have. Are you stepping up every day? It's easier to manage as well, to be honest. These are the values that we set out. This is what I highlighted at the very beginning. You're not matching X. We had this conversation at the beginning. I think, again, going back to clear transparency, I think, as well, going back to expectations. It's helped me. I think, to be honest, again, also looking at the team that I've got, going back to that question, I have the honest conversation. We said this just a second ago. Is I've been completely honest with my team, and I've pretty much said to them within the last couple of weeks, look, the way the industry is going over the next 6 months, I need you, and one of our core values is growth mindset. In the next 3 to 6 months, unless you start to upskill and look, I've been quite direct, and become more important, ultimately your job is going to disappear. And I think for me, it's just that clear honesty. That's what's worked for me the last couple of years.
At least it's not a shock to them when, like, a year down the line, they're wondering.
I've preempted it.
Yeah.
And even it's funny, actually, because Ben's just actually said he's going to actually sit down on Monday and have this conversation himself. So now I've got the team that are backing me behind, which is good.
Good. Anyone else want to add to that?
Yeah, our core values are what's important to you. And if you're investing your life and soul into your own business, you should be able to have those core values. They're yours. I was talking to my wife earlier about that. We've got 3 children. Our middle one, her values are so clear. I mean, Mel, you back that up. As soon as a friend steps over the line, she cuts them out. And she's a happy little girl. I mean, I always say to the kids, play with people that make you happy. What about being a business owner? Your life's on the line, your livelihood's on the line. Why can't you be happy doing it? And a lot of our problems, guys, come through people. Is that fair to say? Mm-hmm. Okay, well, then you've got a choice. So the core values aren't that difficult to find if you know where to search for them. They're inside of you. That's why they're in the core. And they're the things that you believe that are important. They're the non-negotiables. And once you've got them, like Ben and Jill, I think it was, have put into their business, it is changing. It's life-changing. My biggest problem, as I've already alluded to in the Accelerator programme, is I've got lots of directors who have got very different core values. So I'm a bit fucked, really. So.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Max, mate, because that is hard, though. Like, that's the thing is with like, culture and core values.
Don't have multiple businesses.
Yeah. But they have to be. They have to be the ideal that you can live up to, don't they? Because otherwise, like, if you stop doing it, then everybody else stops doing it. And I think Simon Sinek said it like, so goes the leadership, so goes the culture, so goes the culture, so goes the company. And if you're not clear from like the leadership perspective, who you are, what we do, and you show up like that every day, well, then you might as well not have core values because that's not who you are.
That's so good. I mean, because I set our core values up years ago and I built them around what I thought we needed, they weren't the right ones. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I ended up falling out of love with what I was doing where I was because I was trying to fit in around what everybody else wanted, integrity, the usual stuff. Actually, the things that are important to me are our core values. They will be our core values going forward, and that will mean people won't work with me. It's okay. They'll be better off, I'll be better off, and we'll have a better business. But you can't muck around in this economy. You've got 2 opportunities. One, you either literally grow. What's the other one?
Die.
Die, as Mark says.
Well, Mark, he brought it to the table this morning. Let's be honest, But I'm not quite as direct as that. But if you don't believe in them, you won't believe in your business.
It's a common thing because a lot of agency owners I speak to, they always do it. The same with their fucking content as well. can you give me an example of someone else's? It's like, no, stop doing that. And it's the same with the core values as well. Can I just have a copy of someone else's core values? It's like, no, they're not core to you. So you're just going to be, again, just having someone's random down the road. You're just going to make up, and everyone's going to be in exactly the same position. Can you remember your core values? There's a test here. Go on.
Yes. So we are passionate, we're creative, and we are friendly.
So again, like, not integrity and trust, and as Mark said, like, trust is a given, right? You don't have a core value saying we're going to be untrustworthy. So it's a given. So, Chris?
We even, obviously, to try and embed it, I'd like to say everybody within the team can actually discuss our core values now, but it was a daily task. Right, what value are you turning up today? Yeah, I got that from somebody.
Yeah.
We've got hundreds.
Matt's still deciding amongst different ones.
Yeah, we've
Which
got
business
3.
we're talking about?
I'll give you a few in a second.
Yeah, we got 3: hungry, humble, helpful, just because of the H's for the company.
Yeah.
But I think it doesn't really matter like what they are to a degree, as long as like you can describe them to the extent of what you need them to mean.
Yeah.
Because they could, like, those words mean nothing to anybody in here really, but in our business, we're able to describe in a way of like, this is how you show up at work. So that was the issue I had with you when we were speaking about how do we get there? Because like, I want them to be perfect. I want them to sound really good. And like when I read them out on paper, everyone's like, oh, that's really, but it doesn't really matter as long as you can describe it to what it means in your company. So that,
Yeah, because I think a lot of people get confused between marketing core values and messages to the actual internal ones, which we cover a lot in our Accelerator program. People get like, oh, I'm going to make it really cool front end, but like that, the team then gets really confused because it's so elaborate. They're thinking, what does the fuck does that mean? Yeah.
Just on that. So I mean, one of ours is going to be committed. So for Damien and Derek, just so you know, that's coming, Ollie. But the reason for that is I feel let down when people aren't committed. So that's important to me. If you're not committed, you know, the bus analogy, you know, you've got to have the bus going in the right direction, people on the right seats. For me, if you're not committed, you probably don't really care enough about the job, the role that we've got, the type of clients that we want to work with. So that alongside, like, you've got to be driven to work for us. You've got to have drive. It's not a 9 to 5. This is a very, very demanding industry role. But if you absolutely love it, it's the highest paid, best paid job in the world. So, you know, you've got that then helps us to attract those people and have the conversations about how tough it is and what the good days and the bad days look like. So, you know, there's just a few that I thought I'd share there.
Thanks, Matt. Abs?
Ours are be better, be remarkable, be passionate, and be humble. And I was just thinking while everyone was talking that really your values are your North Star. They're what you expect of yourself and what you expect of your team. And I know one of the things that you say about culture is it's what people say about you when you're not there, right? And your values are a guiding light to your team in your absence.
Also as well, it's quite good because I've just done something recently with the team because again it's a bit 360 feedback because again I believe I'm turning up every single day with the values that I set out. But again, actually going back to the team and actually asking them, how do you think I'm turning up every day? Do you think I'm turning up with passion? Do you think I'm offering excellence? Do you think I'm have a growth mindset? So for me to then get them to actually view me was actually quite helpful, and I was smashing it.
Be humble.
Otherwise they were fired.
Yeah, be humble. Fuck you. So one of the things I want to touch on is structure, especially around performance. So it isn't always the first thing that leaders think about when they come to culture, because they think of all this, let's make it all airy and make it all exciting. And then it gets down to the daily basis of like what actually happens on a day-to-day basis, weekly basis, monthly basis, structure-wise. So how has having the right structure in place driven cultural performance in your business? And what does structure look like for you on maybe a daily basis, monthly basis, or weekly basis for anyone out there who might be thinking, I need to get this shit in gear, but where do I start?
Yeah, for us, it's massive. It doesn't sound very sexy, does it? Like,
No.
do you have structure around how your culture is and what happens in the business? Structure doesn't sound like a very sexy word, but it gives what you and Ben were talking about a moment ago is when you have, you put in place the EOS system. I think Perry in here put me onto it initially. But when you have the accountability of who's doing what, then there's no more grey areas around, I've done a little bit of that and you've done a little bit of that. Workshop's getting duplicated, which means that you just move forward a little bit quicker and a little bit faster. And then as you're moving forward, you're performing. And then that performance drives culture because everybody is doing what they need to be doing. They're the right people in the right seats. It feels good. So then the whole environment around it's good. So having structure for us has been massive.
And what would you say, like an example of a structure that you do maybe on a monthly basis that's consistent?
So similar to what you and Ben were talking about there, is just knowing who is in what seat. Because we didn't have any of that structure before we did the programme. We kind of all just did a little bit of everything. And even as Mark and I have been speaking on one-to-one examples of, like, maybe we should just have this as a department, and then maybe somebody should be doing that job in the department, because you're asking people to do this and this and this and this, and like that's a lot of stuff for one person to do. So are they doing any of it really well? And I'm like, well, no, not really. They're doing all of it.
I would say that structure's probably been the most difficult thing because I'm not a naturally structured person. Chaos is my middle name. But I think it's really important for the team. It's like your kids, right? Having structure for your children and a set timetable for them so they know what to expect in the outcomes of the day is, children don't work well with chaos. And it's the same at work. So they know when they go in the morning, okay, we have our morning meeting, everyone talks about their plans for the day. And then they know they've got to do this between this time and this between this time, and they're free to book viewings for the whole of the afternoon, or, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, is renter is chasing and that sort of stuff. If they know what they're expected to do on each day and each different time blocking is the other thing. I think for me, that's been the key to structure. If you don't time block, if it's not in my diary, forget about it, because my memory at 46 is not going to remind me that I was supposed to call that person yesterday.
Perfect. Anyone else want to add to it?
I think it's just nice for people to know what they need to be doing, really. And I think, as you were saying, like the accountability side of it, because you do so much in a day when you're all doing a little bit of everything that by the end of the day, sometimes you kind of feel like you haven't actually done anything. But when it's structured and everybody's got their own roles, you've got that satisfaction at the end of the day. You've done X, Y, Z, rather than it just being a shambles, basically.
Matt?
Yeah, I mean, look, Mel would call me out if I said I was pretty well structured. So, but I know how important it is. All of the things that I've done well over the last 10 years have involved a structure, whether it's physically, mentally, everything. There's been a structure. So bringing that clearly into the business with coaching, training, mentorship, and obviously having the meetings that we need to have, but more so giving people the clarity in when they can do those things is definitely a big thing. And we're probably in the middle of that, in my opinion. But structure is going to be huge for us, because without it, it can be chaos, can't it? So, and that's very easy in this industry because it is very reactive at times.
Yeah, it's difficult to do as well, because I don't know about anybody else here, but a lot of my guys, as more structures come in place, I hear more things like, it's really corporate now, isn't it? It's like, it's going really corporate. I think, well, fucking work. So what's the problem?
One of your core values now.
Be more corporate.
I think just quickly touching base, and this is obviously where I see the business, well, certainly our business going in the new year. I think what I've highlighted over the last couple of months, I'm really glad you just said that, because I've looked at it and I think there's been an element of ownership on certain things, and this is why I feel that the industry now is accelerating so fast that you're not going to have that traditional hierarchy of people. And the way I see it, and this is why I'm having these conversations now, it's like this is where it's going to be next year. So this is what I'm focusing on over this next quarter to ensure that going into the new year, this is where we're going to be. You're either on it or you're not. It's probably going to get to that.
Has anyone got any questions at all? Yeah. Go on, Jackie B. Oh, look, straight over there. Go on, Tobes. Oh, there you go. God, mate, get your legs going. You have a heart attack.
I won't be needing this, will I? Yeah, I've got a question, and I'm very aware that this may well sound like a negative Nancy, and I'm very sorry about that. I think listening to what a lot of people have to say, especially as you sit on the stage, you sound like members of the Happy Clappy Brigade. So you become almost evangelist in your belief, and I absolutely, completely believe that's the way that you need to be successful in a company. But do you think you can run a company successfully if you're working in the company? Do you think you need to be working, that there's a very big difference, as Ben was saying earlier, it's about working on the company and not working in the company, if you've got a key role within that company, is it then possible to manage that company or drive that company forward? Does that make
I
sense?
think Chris would be a good one to answer this one, because Chris was in that position, and he's got Ben now, and you've got Amber, and we have those more conversations now on the business rather than you just running around like a lunatic in it.
Yeah, I think it's going back to the whole the 6 week thing. I'm not quite there yet, but I was having a conversation just as we went out. I could probably go away for 3 weeks now. I'm quite confident.
We had that chat
I had 2 weeks away in August. That's the first time I actually felt guilty coming back, purely because I didn't look at my phone. And I text you, didn't I? I text you on Sunday. I was like, and you, Dave, didn't I? I was like feeling guilty that I hadn't actually checked in, and I had the opportunity to do so. So it's quite refreshing from my point of view. And if you would have known my journey before that, it hasn't been all rosy. It's been far from that. I've heard it so many times over the last several years, but it's letting go. And that is so difficult. But I reviewed something I said, and I'm going through a bit of a weird midlife crisis at the moment, if you follow me on Facebook. But it's noticing the small things that's really making me more present in life now. But the key and where I was at this very beginning of the year, one of the things I wrote down, and I only looked at it this week, was I don't want to take the credit now for the business doing well. I actually want people within, and I didn't realise I set that back in January the 1st. But I feel when you're in the business and you're on the forefront all the time, you're going to find it difficult, if I'll be completely honest, to actually come away from it, because you believe you're the one that needs to be driving it forward. So from my point of view, it's been an absolute eye-opener. So it can happen, but I've probably been where you've been thinking, if that helps.
You have to go through like the value of like unknowing and acceptance that people are going to make mistakes whilst they're fulfilling that autonomy role.
Mistakes?
They will make mistakes. People will make mistakes. So like they will make mistakes in their role as they're learning something new. Like Chris, for example, he's got a new ops person, and we've been working with him on that basis. And like she never did ops before, but she's a great person to fulfil that role. So you can't expect from day one going right, you're ops, but just crack on with it.
But it's one of those when you look at again for your career, like the amount of times I've failed, it's then not fair to then expect them not to fail. I think that's the other key thing. I've always said to all of them, anybody that comes in, look, I would rather you go and try and fail once, but learn from it. But I think if we're expecting them to be perfect, which again is very difficult for people that know me, it's just trying to be a little bit more open to the idea that they will fail, and they're not going to be perfect, because if they were, they wouldn't be working for you.
I don't think it's down to that side of it. I think it's more what I'm asking is, do you think you can actually achieve quality leadership when you're part of the team that you are leading, or do you think you need to be external to it? Because quite frankly, our business does okay. We do all right in our area. Could we do a lot better? Absolutely. I get to the end of the day, I love the fact that you're talking about core values, assessing people, having weekly meetings. There are days when I forget to feed the bloody dog. Do you know, that's not the kind of world that I live in. Is that just because I'm a complete control freak?
Yeah. Can I answer this one?
Yeah. Yes.
So all of these were the same. Every single one of you guys was the same, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I probably had this conversation with every single one of you, which is like, in your business, who's steering the fucking ship? Like, someone's job is to stand on the deck of the ship and just steer it. That's their only job. And no one's doing it, right? Because you're all having to get involved in, like, you know, whatever it is that's going on in the ship, the making of the food, the rowing of the oars, whatever it is. So the ship's just going around in fucking circles. And so it will go in the direction you want it to go in much, 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 much faster. I know you're an integral part of the business. I mean, I know you well, and I know how integral you would be in that business. But it'd be easier to get someone to do the jobs you're doing than to get someone to go upstairs and steer the ship that's not you. So, like, you're going to have to Your job is to steer the ship. That's your only job. The rest of it's going to have to take care of itself. You have to get people to do it. If no one's steering the ship, it can't go in the right direction. It will just go round in circles, and then it will hit the fucking rocks. And you have to run upstairs, and then you have to put it back online again, and you run back downstairs, and you do something else, and it goes off course again. Every single one of these guys was exactly the same. And none of us are perfect at it. You know, we're all still struggling with it. Like these guys all sitting up here looking all smart, like they've cracked it. And I'm doing the same thing. But it's just a process of, you know what? And then the program that they went through, or whether you're reading Traction or whatever you're doing, just helps with the steps towards it, because you can't just leave your job and go, right, well, I'll run the company then. Like, I don't know, what am I going to do? So it's just that someone showing you how that works. Like the chap down here said, like, how do you do core values? What does it mean? And then what do I do with it? And then, like, how do you start running scorecards in your business? How do you run these meetings? How do you figure out your perfect customers? How do you make sure that everyone else can do sales properly? How do you make sure operations runs correctly? Once someone's showing you like that side of things, and then all of a sudden you're doing this role where you're steering the ship.
I think it's individual to you as well. I remember you asked me the question of, once you said, well, what do you actually want to achieve? Like, what is it that you're trying to do? Because I suppose once you've got the answer to that question of what you want to do, because I've got friends who run agencies who are just one office, one-man bands, and that's what they do. They work in their business, and they love it. Like, that's their life. It's perfect for them. So I suppose it's an individual thing to you, isn't it? Like, what is it that you want to achieve? And then if that's like a grander vision of, well, I don't want to do this every day. I'd rather my business be run by somebody else, and then I can keep growing and open the locations, et cetera, and I guess that's the starting point, is figuring out what it looks like for you later. For me, I don't work in our business on a hand-to-hand combat anymore. I don't tie up deals. I don't do any of that stuff. So I've now got to the point of I can elevate myself above the business to do exactly that, is just steer the ship. But it took a long time and a lot of mistakes.
Yeah. I mean, on that, I've got 3 business partners up there, and they all are in the business. So, you know, they love doing the day-to-day. They love being involved. They leave me to steer the ship. And I always loved the day-to-day and being involved. And I was known as a control freak. Ollie will probably tell you that. And I know that's a massive shift. And by the way, I'm definitely not perfect. And I can tell you, it's not all happy-clappy for us as well. It's actually really challenging running a business. And that is a job in itself. That is a full-time job in itself, being a leader, because you've got to have the energy to show up, show the direction in which you want to be going, keep reinforcing the vision, keep reinforcing the things that are important. I don't think that's possible to do that and then be back in the dirt, back in the mud. And I spent a lot of time in the mud as well, even in the last 2 years, to try and get myself back out of it again. So I completely understand.
Thanks, guys. We're at time now, so I really appreciate you guys and your knowledge coming on. We've got a lunch now, so before these guys run off for it, grab them if you've got a question for them at all and you want to ask them anything. But yeah, thank you very much, guys. Big clap for everyone.
Listening to this Estate Agency X podcast, can you make sure that you're actually subscribed to this podcast channel if you liked the content? It helps us massively to get better guests, and it just helps us generally. So you might think you're subscribed, but just have a double check, whatever your podcast platform of preference is, that you're actually subscribed, and then that way we can continue to grow the channel and get better and better guests for you.